I really am an artist. And then I realized that this whole missing link in my life was a connection to my heritage.
Welcome to Carrie On, the show where we explore reinvention, self-discovery, and empowerment before, during, and after midlife. I'm your host, Carrie Murray. It's time to keep our head above the chaos and carry on. I've been lucky to have some remarkable experiences in my life, but my bingo card doesn't include cooking with Sean Connery or being his featured chef at the White House. Some lives are so full, they almost sound fictional. And that's exactly why today's guest has told hers through multiple books, a TV cooking show, a TEDx talk, and even a one-woman show. Holy shiitake, a walk star is born. Celebrity chef Leeann Chin is an award-winning cookbook author, caterer, culinary ambassador to the National Pediatric Cancer Foundation, commissioner of the Los Angeles Tourism Board, and in her spare time, raises two twins. In July 2025, she gave her TEDx talk, Dumplings Released My Demons, How Food Can Heal Generational Trauma. Leeann, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Carrie.
So, like Beyonce, you get more hours in the day. Like, how do you have time to do all of these things?
I just get bored very easily.
Got you.
Yes, but I mean, I think through many hours of therapy, I've come to realize I'm still seeking my mother's approval. Even though she's still not with us.
Right. She's smiling and laughing. I like to assume she's very proud of you. Well, let's start before we end in your TEDx, but I want to go back a little bit to you growing up in a foreign country, coming here with your parents. But first, why did your parents originally come to the United States?
Well, I actually was born and raised in Minneapolis, Minnesota, so I'm first generation Chinese American. My parents were both from Guangzhou, China. It was an arranged marriage, and then my father's sister and her husband sponsored them to move to Minnesota because they had been living in Minnesota.
Gotcha.
So it was a very strange place to immigrate to in the 1950s because there were very few Asians at the time. But it was just this strange thing that happened, and then that's where they ended up. I think they felt like there were opportunities for a better life, better opportunities for their children, the American dream, the gold mountain to immigrate.
Yeah. And I'm sure you were born here. So how long were they living here before you were born?
About 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
Yes.
So they've been pretty established by the time you popped into the world. Said, holy shiitake. How was those first few years, growing up in the U.S. and, them raising children in the U.S. and you kind of observing all of this?
Well, it was a very strange existence because we were very fish out of water since there were so few Asians at the time.
Yeah.
We didn't even have any Asian clubs. Our parents brought us to the Sons of Norway events. They made us eat krum kaka and lefse. And, we just tried to assimilate. So I think a lot of Asian American children experience this. Their parents want them to assimilate. So you're expected to be American outside the household, assimilate, make them proud. But then in the household, you're supposed to be completely respectful, dutiful, act super Chinese. But obviously those worlds are going to completely clash. So while I did feel pride in being Chinese, I was also completely embarrassed by it growing up.
Gotcha. And when you would bring your school, lunch to school, what would be in your lunchbox?
We would get barbecued pork bao, and all the other kids would get bologna sandwiches. So,
Right.
As a result, we just want to throw that away and throw it in the garbage and just sort of cover up our existence and who we were. So while food was love in our household, it became a source of shame outside the household.
Outside of it. Which brings me up to how cooking shaped your life for your siblings and you and your family. How was, I hear you talk about, we had traditional Chinese cooking in the home. Outside, we wanted McDonald's and bologna sandwiches, I'm sure. So how was that cooking experience? Especially you're the youngest, so you probably had to wash all the rice.
Yes. That was my job, to wash all the rice. And also you couldn't get it from the table unless you ate every single grain of rice in your bowl.
Wow.
But as I've talked about, many times, love is food in Chinese American families, and especially mine. That's how love is communicated. So, like, for example, if my brother came home with all A's, he'd get a whole fish and black bean sauce. I get pork chow mein. If I got all B's. Or, for example, this isn't really food related, but just to give you an example of how my mother communicated her love. I was working in the entertainment industry and I got a big promotion at work, and instead of calling me and saying, "I'm so proud of you," she had her secretary send me a Prada purse, and it just had a card that said, "Congratulations on your promotion, best mom." Like,
do you still have that
thanks,
purse?
Mom. I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. So then, moving forward, then she opens her own business with no business degree, her own restaurant, no, a very, very risky business. How did that come to be?
It's a really remarkable story. So she actually was a seamstress making 50 cents an hour, but she always loved to cook. And one day she threw a luncheon for some of her sewing clients to thank them. They were so blown away by her authentic Chinese cuisine, because back in the day they just really had chop suey. They
Right.
encouraged her to start teaching classes and to cater. And one thing led to another. And she became very successful as a caterer, but she had to take the bus, okay? She didn't even have a car. She took the bus to her catering gigs.
With all the food?
Sometimes she had to transfer,
yeah.
leave the food, go back, get the food. So later in life, anytime I complained, she looked at me like I had 3 heads. So anyway, so by this remarkable twist of fate, this local socialite wanted to open a restaurant with my mom, and she happened to be friends with the owner of the Minnesota Twins, and he happened to be friends with Sean Connery. Sean Connery came to town to visit his friend, the late, great Robert Redford, who was in town directing the film Ordinary People.
Okay.
And my mom got hired to cater the, welcome party. And I was there offering, shrimp toast and wontons to Sean Connery and Robert Redford.
Wow.
And Robert Redford was super shy, but Sean Connery was exactly as I imagined.
Right.
He turned to me and said, "Oh, delicious wontons." So the rest is really like a Hollywood fairy tale. He invested in her first restaurant, and she went on to build a $50 million restaurant empire.
Wow. Whew. So eventually she had to sell the business. How did it, when you start a business, you have to go in knowing how's this going to end. So how do you think she came peace with that choice to know that she had to sell it? Was that difficult for her?
It was, it's such a classic entrepreneurial story. It's like giving up your baby. She ended up selling it to General Mills in the mid-1980s. However, she did buy it back. And I think she felt like this is an opportunity. Once again, immigrant parents are always thinking about their children. This is a way to improve our children's lives and their children's lives. But she did eventually end up buying it back. And then later in life, she exited from the company.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then where did it go from when she exited the second time?
So it still exists.
Oh, that was my next question.
Yeah, there's about 60 locations in the Twin Cities. So there's also a location in the Atlanta airport, the North Carolina airport. It's owned by a gentleman who also owns Pickup Sticks and another chain in the Northeast.
What's the name of the restaurant?
Leeann Chin Chinese cuisine.
So I was going to ask, is it her name?
It is.
Oh, and when was the last time you've been there?
Oh man, like a couple years ago.
Okay.
Our family's no longer affiliated
A part
with
of
the
it
business,
and everything.
but
Yeah,
we're still so proud. I mean,
Yeah.
people are. I mean, people were obsessed with my mom. I mean, they still are, and it's kind of hard to explain to people that aren't from Minneapolis. But I think, first of all, the food was so amazing, but also her story and the fact that she treated the janitor the same way she treated a CEO. She really became such a trailblazer and such a symbol of the American dream for minorities, for women, but really anybody with a dream.
And did you find that inspiring as a young girl growing up, or did you find that as, oh shit, I got a lot to live up to? Like, how was that being in Leeann's, peripheral vision, but also being in a traditional Chinese family where they want the best from you and everything? How was it like growing up like that?
How much time have you got?
Well,
so many feelings. At first, growing up, we were resentful because we were trapped in a basement cooking chicken pieces. Everybody else was at the mall, and I felt like I was trapped in a Chinese food prison. And I think that really, while we were proud of her, especially when all these magical things were happening to her, I felt inspired to make my own mark.
And how'd you do that? How did you rebel? Let me talk about teenage Katie.
I climbed out of the window a lot. I think like many teenagers, but I think it was also just, magnified by the fact that I was I was struggling with my identity because I was so ashamed for who I was. So I was trying to fit in, but at the same time trying to hide from myself. I was a nerd. I was in marching band. I was on the yearbook staff. I was
What
nerdy.
instrument did you play? I didn't know you were in the marching band.
Clarinet.
Oh.
Do you play an instrument?
I don't.
Oh my goodness. And one time at band camp, no, I was a good girl. I mean, I partied and stuff, but my mother was never even around. So I had to grow up pretty quickly, and I was the youngest. So I just had to find my own independence.
Yeah.
But I just knew there was something in me wanting to be a performer, and I was drawn to Los Angeles to work in entertainment. It just somehow happened, and I felt like I could, form my own identity. I was good at it. I was not having to make shrimp toast. I wasn't in a hot, sweaty kitchen. But then I realized I really am an artist. And then I realized that this whole missing link in my life was a connection to my heritage and to my mom. And then I was so fortunate, and it just sort of happened that we were able to come together later in life.
Yeah.
For women who want more than just a getaway, Two Peacocks Travel offers transformative journeys that blend adventure, connection, and empowerment. Imagine wandering the colorful streets of Morocco with new friends, sharing stories over a meal in Peru, or conquering a new challenge with the encouragement of a supportive travel group. These experiences aren't just about places. They're about people, growth, and creating traditions that extend beyond the trip. It's time to travel with purpose and find your travel bestie and make an unforgettable memories. Join the movement at twopeacockstravel.com.
So you're one of 6 children, and you lose your eldest sister. Can you tell me a little bit about her?
Sure. She was quite a bit older than me. She was 12 years older than me. She was very childlike, though. So some days she would spend hours reading to me. On other days she became quite withdrawn because she suffered from depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
So we were close, but she was so much older than me.
Yeah,
And,
that's a big age difference.
It really is. So I felt like she tried to take care of me, but she was battling with her own demons.
Yeah. And how did when that happened, how did your family react to that?
This really shaped, I think, who I was. And I had to work really hard to break past this. But unfortunately, she was admitted into a mental health facility for severe depression. And several weeks later, my parents told me that she had committed suicide and died at the facility from an overdose.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But I was so young. I didn't really understand what was happening. I just remember my other sister, Jeannie, who is 4 years older than me, trying to explain it to me. Like, what is suicide? And she said, well, it means she killed herself.
Yeah.
But we definitely felt like we couldn't bring it up or talk about it. And then I just remember the day after the funeral, my father took her high school photo off the wall and placed it in a drawer. And then we never spoke of her again.
Wow.
So it was like she brought shame onto the family.
Yeah.
You don't dwell on the past in a Chinese American family. It's just a waste of time.
Wow.
It's, impeding your ability to be productive in life. Just why bother? Move on.
Yeah.
So that's what we learned. Like, just stuff all your problems. Just brush them under the rug, and just keep moving forward in life. So it wasn't until much later in life, when my mother and I came together, when I was an adult and we started cooking together, that she finally opened up about her life in China, but then also a little bit about my sister.
Yeah. Do you think I'm going to fast forward now to when she's now in LA, and you guys, it was LA you were shooting the show?
Well, we shot our cooking series in Hawaii, actually.
In Hawaii, gotcha. And was it you think that was her therapy? Was being able to cook and be right next to you and to kind of bring it out without actually looking at you, but I'm chopping and I can.
Yes, she did not look at me. That is true. Anyway, I think, my theory is that food was always her source of healing, that she escaped all the pain that she encountered. There's so many other stories that happened to her through cooking. So she found solace in that whole act. I think later, because I was older, she felt like I need to tell her these stories because I need to give her tools to succeed in life and to empower her. And I think ultimately for her legacy. And that's when we became friends.
Oh, that's really touches my heart. So you had this, relationship with your mom through cooking. And you were able to tell her story in your book and in your show, and through your own eyes and lens. What do your siblings think about you telling your mom's story?
Well, there are some that are very supportive and others that are not, which is, listen, everybody has their own experience in their family, and they're not necessarily the same because we remember certain things. We interpret certain relationships or behavior. Also, birth order makes a difference too.
Truly, and gender.
Totally. So my oldest sister, who's 13 years older than me, it was almost like we grew up in two completely separate families. That being said, it's very Chinese to keep secrets. It's very Chinese to repeat cycles of shame. It's very Chinese to save face. So by me telling some of these family secrets, it's upsetting to others.
Ah, I see.
It's like I'm, airing our
dirty
dirty laundry, and
Yeah.
what's the point? And mom didn't want to talk about it, so why are you talking about it? So, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, I feel like it's my right to tell my story.
Absolutely.
And I feel like my mother's story and her journey is bigger than all of this. It's bigger. So if I can talk about my sister's suicide, or if I can talk about the fact that my father was emotionally abusive to my mother, and that one of my husbands, because I've had three, one of my husbands was emotionally abusive to me, that could help somebody that's hurting, then
you then stop the cycle of violence, Katie. If you saw being raised in a home with emotional abuse, of course you're going to seek that in a relationship, and you divorcing that and leaving that, you've immediately made a stop in the cycle of violence. So that means the likelihood of your daughter having that is down to less than 1%.
yes.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes.
Bravo
we
to
hope.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, I wrote an op-ed in USA Today talking about all of this, and the amount of strangers that came up to me or wrote to me to say thank you because I'm experiencing the same thing, or thank you for giving me the freedom to seek therapy.
Yeah.
So that in and of itself just keeps me going.
That's good. Yeah. You first come to LA to pursue entertainment, but then you make the pivot to food. Tell me about that.
So I worked so hard to become an executive, I had completely forgotten how to cook. So while I thought I was making my mother proud by becoming an executive, I had done the opposite by forgetting how to cook. So one day I decided to throw a dinner party for some clients when I was working at Fox, and I kept calling my mom and asking her questions, and she was like, this is ridiculous. So she got on a plane with frozen lemon chicken.
Oh my gosh.
She showed up on my doorstep. She cooked the whole thing, but she let everyone think that I had cooked it. Because she
Wow.
was just that kind of mom. She opened my fridge and found only champagne and yogurt, completely
she do.
mortified. So she set out to teach me how to cook again. So she kept flying to LA. We'd have these dinner parties, and people were like, you guys make this look so easy. You should do a book together. And I was like, we should do a book together. Now, meanwhile, I was not happy in my job. I was not happy with my husband. So I just decided to change my life completely. I quit my job as a senior VP at Fox, and I left my then husband all in the same month.
That's a pivot.
I was just like, you know what? It sounds corny, but I happened to see this quote in O magazine that said, leap and the net will appear.
Yes.
And I was like, what is the worst that could happen?
You find happiness?
What is the worst? If not now, then when? And I just decided to change my life completely. So it was scary, but it was amazing because that's when my mom and I got to come together. So not only did she teach me how to cook, it was in those quiet moments where she decided to heal me through cooking, through the act of cooking, and also to share her life. So she really came to my rescue through cooking and eating in the kitchen.
Wow. So today you're merging food and performance through your one-woman show. I've gotten to see it twice. Everyone must go see it. It's hilarious. How does it bring all your paths together? How did that show kind of bring your entertainment background, but also your love of cooking? You're a natural performer. You're very, very good. How'd you marry those two?
I don't even know how it happened, to be honest. Something was just like telling me to do it. It was like some kind of divine calling, because it could certainly have been a book, which it may be, a TV show, which it may be. Something was just telling me this should be told on stage. So I started to take a writing class. I wrote little bits and pieces about her, and then all of the material was in a canvas bag, and when she passed away, just the thought of opening that bag made me burst into tears.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and I was like, if not now, then when? What am I waiting for? Am I going to do one-woman show when I'm 85? I guess I could. People have done it.
Yes.
I don't want to put some fire under my behind. And I took a master class, and I wrote the show, and 6 weeks later, I spit it out. But I felt like it was just such a creative way to tell her remarkable story and also be able to embody her and also bring our relationship to life.
So you're writing the show and writing a cookbook at the same time?
I don't even remember the process. I think I had finished my last book when I dove into writing the show.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And how did that, writing, so how many cookbooks? You have 2, 3?
5. But the
I was
first
way
one
off.
I did with my mom.
Gotcha. And then your most recent one, the Katie Chin Global Family Cookbook. Tell us what brought you to that.
Well, I had mainly...
Because this is not just Chinese food.
That's right. Well, I had mainly done Asian cookbooks. So I did a Chinese cookbook with my mom. Then I did a 300 Best Rice Cooker Recipes cookbook on my own. I had to prove myself without my mom, which was also hard because she was so famous. It was easy to get a book deal when I was doing it with my mom. And then all of a sudden, this is where I interject the advice. When one door closes, climb through a window.
Right.
Because there's always another way.
Absolutely.
Maybe it isn't how you saw it, but maybe it turns out to be even better. Mm-hmm. So I had a pity party for a couple days, but then I found another way and I had to prove myself. Then I did a Thai cookbook, which is funny because I'm not Thai, but I went to Thailand on my honeymoon with the good husband. I'm on my third husband, the good one.
The good one.
So I was able to do this beautiful Thai cookbook, and then I did a Chinese cookbook, which honors my mom. And there's lots of anecdotes within that cookbook. And I think that also helped fuel me to write the show as well, because I had to write down all those stories. Mm-hmm. And then I had the opportunity to do something globally inspired, which was fun because, LA is just such a melting pot of cultures.
Yeah.
My kids are multicultural. We're raising them Jewish. My husband is German, and I'm Asian, so they're embracing both cultures. So it was kind of fun to just branch out a little bit and not be, pigeonholed into just doing this.
I'm kidding.
Oh, there's a delicious latke recipe in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it. Dumplings Released Your Demons, but what do you do for fun? Where do I find Katie on an average Thursday night? Where do you release all that energy that you've been holding in all day?
Well, I really love to sing. I won't say I'm like the best singer, but I love to sing, so I go to karaoke all the time.
What's your go-to karaoke song?
Well, right now it's White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane, which people think is unusual, but I just really love that song. And this is probably TMI, but I had to do IVF many times. Mm-hmm. And I think our third fail, I was like, ah! So I went to Dimples in Burbank, and I put this giant golf ball on my head because they had costumes there, and I just belted that out, and I just felt so much better. But my husband during COVID wanted to start a band, so we started a band called Never Too Late.
Love that.
And we do classic 70s covers, and we are available for weddings, birthdays, and bar mitzvahs. But that was just a great thing for he and I to do during COVID.
That's so cute.
Most of us wanted to strangle our husbands during COVID.
Sure.
Yeah.
Myself included. What instrument does he play? Remind me.
Electric guitar.
And is your son in this too?
He has his own band.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, his band is called Feedback.
Okay.
But we're just a bunch of people that always wanted to be in a band. And,
like the Partridge Family.
Yes. So we are auditioning for a triangle player. and tambourine.
All right, so
if you're interested.
if anybody out
Yes.
there plays
Anybody,
the
yes.
triangle or the tambourine, sound off in the comments. We
Yes.
want to know.
Give me a call.
Yeah, I love
yeah,
it.
yeah.
I love it. I love that. That's great. That's a great release. I can't sing at all. And I fortunately got to meet you in the pandemic brought us together, and I want to thank you for embracing me and my silliness into this wonderful group chat that we are all a part of called Katie's Game Night. Because if you guys didn't know this, during the pandemic, every Sunday, I think it was, we would play Pictionary on our phones. And it was awful, but it brought us all together. You created this safe space for us to be like, I can't find any water or toilet paper, but that looks like a boat. So I appreciate you inviting me into that.
Oh my God,
So
it was really fun.
And it's also a testament to be like, you never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to meet through that person. So I met you. I have you meet Kat Curry-Williams. You become part of the She Angels. You become part of the Bra Network. And I just want to say thank you. You always show up. You've been a part of Bra. You've been so active. And it's just great. You're just great at like showing up for other people. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. And I feel like the minute I met you, I'm like, she's such a giver. And I feel like, birds of a feather.
I know.
So I feel so grateful.
A great, game attracts game. So now we're up to your TEDx talk, which I'm very excited about. First tell me, like, I could do a TEDx talk. Like, did you have any imposter syndrome, or were you just like, I got this?
At first I was like, I got this. And then I kind of started to do research because I'm like, I'm just going to call it Holy Shiitake, How Dumplings Released My Demons. And then a friend of mine was like, that's clever, but you're making it all about yourself. I was like, I guess I am. So I really had to stop and think about it. How can this TED Talk improve other people's lives? Mm-hmm. How can it give them tools? How can it inspire them to unleash creativity or just make them a better person? So I realized food can really help you and heal you. Mm-hmm. And that generational trauma is a real thing. It's the passing down of trauma from one generation to the next. Yeah. And I really thought about my story and how I talked about those moments in the kitchen with my mom. They really healed me, but they really did. And there's science to back it up. And there's also science to suggest that trauma can create epigenetic changes in your brain, mm-hmm. but that trauma can be healed through plasticity. And there's different ways that the brain can heal. And studies have also shown through just the meditative nature of cooking together, opening up conversations, you can begin to heal through that trauma.
Wow. And so sitting down, crafting the TED Talk and everything, did it bring up like that young girl Katie again, losing her sister or living, you wanted to go out and listen to the Partridge Family, but you had to be this traditional, like, did that boil up at all, or did that help you heal, writing the TED Talk?
I think every time I write about my family or my mother, it just, helped me heal incrementally. It's interesting, though, because it was a different format. So whereas my story, my one-woman show, I'm performing it, mm-hmm. right? I'm showing it. I'm not really stating it or talking about it. I'm showing it. Mm-hmm. This piece was revelatory in a different way. So my rehearsal with some friends, I don't know what happened. I just completely burst into tears in the middle of the rehearsal. Mm. I think also because there was just so much anticipation.
Yeah.
Like doing a TEDx talk is like going to a water slide and this huge ladder. You're climbing. Then you're waiting. And then you go down the slide and it's like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like just so much anticipation. It was very emotional, but I think it was also super healthy to reveal, and it was almost like proclaiming some of the ways that I healed, mm-hmm. that really like stating it, proclaiming it, owning it. And that was super empowering for me.
Yeah. And where can we see this fabulous TEDx talk?
Well, it will be uploaded very soon to the TEDx platform. Mm-hmm. Just search me on YouTube, TEDx Fargo, Katie Chin, and
we'll find
hopefully
it.
And by
the time this comes out, it'll already be live. So this is going to be, and we're definitely going to link it and put it in the show notes. It'll be the first After you watch this video, you're going to hit the comments, and it's going to be Katie's TED Talk next.
Highly recommend, though, but it was such a blast. Really fun.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
What would you, I'm going to ask you, I want to close with, what would you recommend to one of our listeners or viewers that are watching this that might also be feeling generational trauma? What advice would you be like to get them kind of to make a step towards healing?
I would say everybody is a product of generational trauma. I don't care who you are. It's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
I would say write it down. Write down why you feel a certain way, what you attribute that to. I say seek some therapy. I think go to the source. If you feel like, oh, my sister always made me feel this way, maybe try just talking to your sister. And you might not get the results you're hoping for, but I think beginning to open up that dialogue, as well as if you're feeling it, your siblings are probably feeling it too. So opening up that dialogue. So when I started to write about my sister Patty and doing research for the USA Today article, I reached out to 2 of my siblings that were open. And we had the most amazing conversation, and we couldn't believe we had never talked about her.
Wow.
Our entire lives.
Wow.
And we also had completely different and sometimes conflicting memories about what happened. So it was fascinating. And we were like, I can't believe we literally haven't spoken about this in 50 years.
Wow. 15 years.
50.
50. Wow. Katie, that's a long time to hold that in there.
Right? Wow. So you think about the ways in which that can affect you. Emotionally, mentally, spiritually, psychologically, physically.
Yeah.
It can live in your bones. And it can, have ill effects on your body. So if for no other reason, you can be a much healthier person, mind, body, spirit, by releasing some of those demons.
I really, really, really thank you for being vulnerable and sharing this story. I know it's not what you're typically asked. You're usually cooking noodles with Ryan Seacrest or Kelly Ripa. So I really appreciate you coming in and sharing this story. I know it'll resonate with our audience, especially people who can't necessarily take that first step to healing. So thank you so much for doing that. Tell the people where we can find you in all the places.
You can find me at Chef Katie Chin on social platforms. My website is chefkatiechin.com. If you're interested in hiring me for catering, my catering website is walkstarcatering.com.
Love that. And where can we get the book?
You can get my book on Amazon and find booksellers everywhere.
That's right. So go to a Barnes & Noble. We don't need to give Jeff Bezos any more money, right?
Here.
Right?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you so much.
This is so great. And thank you to my wonderful audience. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We want to hear what you think. Try a recipe in Katie's book. Let us know how yummy it is. And as always, keep your head above the chaos and carry on.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Carrie On. Be sure to find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as always, like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And don't forget to keep your head above the chaos and carry on.